The college football experience, Bowling Green Falcons 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Yes, they just introduced college football best ball, folks. Get on over there, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, this is Eric Metcalf. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the college football experience. Preview and picks. No, team preview for Bowling Green as I just dropped my entire sparkling water on my magazine. How are you folks out there? YouTube.com/the college experience. We are talking Bowling Green Falcon football, and I think it's a very exciting year if you are a Bowling Green Falcon fan. And I gotta be honest, I was a skeptic on the hire, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because things are bright and sunny in Bowling Green, Ohio there. And I think they have a lot of reason to think that, hey, I think that perhaps Ohio's reloading, perhaps Toledo's reloading, maybe Miami, Ohio lost some guys in the portal. This could be our year. Oh, and there's this thing called the 12-team playoff. We're going to talk all about it, folks. We're going to preview offense, defense, special teams. But before we do all that, I want to tell you that, my name is Colby Swig Database Dan, aka Pick Don D. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
So I'm excited to talk Bowling Green football. I'm so excited that I knocked my Spindrift carbonated water all over my countertop right now. So if I get electrocuted, I'm glad I'm going out with this one. All right. Glad I'm going out talking football. All right. I am honored to have this guy on the show. YouTube.com/the college experience. You see him in the Bowling Green Falcon attire, and nobody, and I repeat, nobody covers the MAC like this guy. He is the host of the MAC Connection podcast. Give it up for my friend Alex Shear. How are you doing, brother?
Appreciate you having me on, man. I'm doing great. Ready to talk some, talk more MAC and talk some Bowling Green football. I think you're right. There's a lot of optimism and a lot of excitement brewing in the village of Bowling Green, town of Bowling Green. I don't actually know. I think it's officially town. Some people call it a village.
Though. I like village. Yeah,
village sounds way more intimate and way more personable.
Yeah,
I like that for them. It's a good fit.
That's what I'm saying. You go in there talking, Ohio Bobcat football. You're not going to make it out the village. You know what I mean? You're not going to make it out that village. It is an exciting time though. And I will be the first to admit when I'm wrong. I like to think that at least, and that's all that matters. As long as I think that, I like to admit that when I'm wrong. I was a skeptic of Scotty Loeffler being a good football coach or a good hire for Bowling Green. I don't want to say I thought he was a horrible coach, but I just didn't think he was ready. Didn't think he was qualified necessarily for it. And I am eating a big old bag of shit on that because I think he's done quite well considering I think his second year was COVID and what he walked into. YouTube.com/the college experience. We got some slides and everything, but here, actually, let's go like that. No, let's go like this. He's 20-35 in 5 years as the head coach of Bowling Green. I think most people would say, hey, that's the 20-35. You're 15 games under 500, but he walked into an absolute disaster. And he's coming off his first winning season. He played quarterback at Michigan. I know he's friends with Tom Brady. He was on, I think they were both on the Michigan roster at the same time. He's coached under, and this is, I don't mean like he's not qualified based off of I just thought at Virginia Tech, he had not shown me, if anything, he had not shown me any signs of like the offense being good, but he's definitely coached. He's definitely qualified for who he's coached under: Lloyd Carr, Urban Meyer, Frank Beamer, Gene Chizik, Rod Marinelli. He is 2-3 though in the battle of I-75. All right. And that might be a little, I think that's actually a little impressive considering what he walked into. Where are you at with Scott Loeffler as a head coach?
I got to tell you, man, I love Scott Loeffler. I think he's done an unbelievably phenomenal job turning around this program from the disastrous Mike Jinks era. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, Mike Jinks was not. You talk about guys who weren't qualified.
He put
Mike
Jinx on the program.
Not qualified. And Mike Jinks, if you're listening, sorry. I just speak facts here, but that was an awful regime. I mean, Dino Babers did a great job at Bowling Green. Then they handed the reins to Mike Jinks and they tanked hard. When they brought in Scott Loeffler, for him to, I think they finished 3-9 his first year, but the key component to that year, they were 21.5 point underdogs to Toledo. They beat him at home to get his first win in the rivalry game. And that is when I knew this guy was going to be the guy to take Bowling Green forward into the future, because he reestablished what that rivalry meant. I had been at rivalry games where Toledo won 66-40. I had been to all these games where Bowling Green was so close, couldn't get over the hump. Toledo had a 9-game winning streak in this rivalry until Scott Loeffler took over. This was a much different era in Bowling Green football. And now you've got a great head coach in Scott Loeffler. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. And look, and that's the best part about sport is you have, the media will always be the media, whether it's an idiot like me or just anybody. Yeah. You get paid to make projections, right? Like we're supposed to project. Paid? I mean, in food stamps. Nice. But no. We get paid to make projections. And I just didn't understand it in a way. I was like, Virginia Tech's offense wasn't that good. I don't understand. Like, why would they go for that? It's not like I have anything personally against Scotty Loeffler. If anything, if he's proven me wrong, and I enjoy that. But I certainly was a skeptic, and that's the best part about life, though. Someone gets to call you a moron, and guess what? That fuels you. Not that I'm saying I fueled him. He probably was like, he's probably never heard of Pick Dundee, but I was impressed that really like the past couple of years and 2-3 in the Battle of I-75, which is a slept on rivalry, folks. One of the things he does is co-OCs and co-DCs, which is very interesting to me too. Mm-hmm. His OCs are Greg Nassau and Max Warner. His DC's Steve Morrison. I wonder if that's the same Steve Morrison from Michigan, and Sammy Lewanson. Last season was his first winning season, but if you knew how bad the situation was that he walked into, I think you would say, okay, that's progress for you. And he also won a game at Georgia Tech
last year. Yeah.
And I believe the year before at Minnesota.
They scored 38 unanswered points against Georgia Tech last year.
Whew.
And then 2 years prior, they beat Minnesota in Minnesota 14-10. They've had some really big flashes of brilliance. And then last year, they beat Marshall at home after Marshall knocked off Notre Dame.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
They've had some really great moments. They're finally getting their pieces that they want. I saw a piece earlier this week about Scott Loeffler talking about, now we're looking like what we wanted to look like during COVID. and things are gelling, things are coming together. We're getting our guys into our system and we're figuring it out. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. This was an awful program at the time. And yeah, I'm very excited for Scott Loeffler here.
Yeah, and I think he's, in a way, unless he has like a horrible year, I think, because I was arguing, I guess if you go back 2 years ago, it's like, oh, he's on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat. Probably the year prior to him, or the year leading up to the upset of the 14-10 Minnesota win. But shout out, we got Dan Savage in the chat. It goes boo. Shout out to Dan. He's a Toledo guy too. So I mean, that's what I mean. We like the rivalry. I like people coming in the chat talking shit.
I will say this. I will say this, Colby. People, want to talk Central Michigan, Western Michigan. Phenomenal rivalry. Battle for the Cannon. Great rivalry. For my alumni bias, will say the Battle of I-75 is the best rivalry in the Mid-American Conference. Nobody else in the country has a rocket pointing at their biggest rivals 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Just saying. Like, that's a real decommissioned rocket. It's not some thrown together metal. It's a real rocket issued by the U.S. government.
Well, and I'll say from someone that has no affiliation in any MAC schools, besides maybe slightly being intoxicated at a few campuses, that's the one that jumps out to me the most. Now, some of those other rivalries really good. I like the Battle of the Bricks too, but like I feel like the Battle of I-75 is the premier rivalry.
Agreed.
In the MAC. Bowling Green has scored some. I mean, first off, you kind of already hit on this. Dino Babers had great success here. Dave Clausen, Greg Brandon, and Urban Meyer. I mean, those are just some of the coaches but they've scored some nice wins. And I wish they'd bring back that logo because that logo is absolute fire. Just nothing like an angry bird there. Some of these are obviously one of them or two of them were in the Loeffler era, the Minnesota Georgia Tech ones, but we try to look at the Power 5 wins for all the Group of Fives. There's a lot on here, man. It's pretty damn impressive what Bowling Green has done since the turn of the century. They swept Missouri home and home. And they've scored wins against a lot of the Big Ten. I mean, almost what's that? Minnesota, Purdue, Maryland, but they have 7 wins against the Big Ten over the past 22 football seasons because COVID they didn't play outside of the conference. Very, very impressive stuff there. Which one do you think is the biggest win there?
Well, I think when you really look at it, I think in terms of success and kind of building forward, I think you got to look at the Georgia Tech game last year. The fact that they went down to Georgia, they got rattled early, but then scored 38 unanswered points. You just don't do that against any ACC team. I mean, we saw what Georgia Tech did yesterday against Florida State. That was a big win for Georgia Tech. But I think when you go and do that, that's impressive. I also think the win at Missouri is equally as impressive. A 2013 win, but you do it on the road at an SEC school. I think they were Big 12 at the time. That if I'm not wrong.
You're right. Yeah.
But then the home walloping of Kansas. I mean, you could point to all of these and say these are all impressive. For me, the Maryland one was a big one. I remember watching that game, just every single one. But I think if you're talking about going forward, you're going to see a lot more of these victories kind of be on the road. That these schools aren't going to travel to Bowling Green. It's just part of the game now. I think the Georgia Tech one, recency bias, has to be the most impressive.
38 unanswered is 38 unanswered. You know what I mean? So I think I'll join you there too. Dan saying bring back the peace pipe. I co-sign that. I don't understand. Come on, bring that back. Bring that thing back. That is cool. I don't know about you, and I don't want to hot potato you, but like I am of the opinion, like the more you can, like I know the history, and I don't know if technically that's why they're running from it is the, perhaps Native American influence there. I don't know, but I also don't think we should just delete their history.
Well, and I don't think you're wrong on that. I think, the Northwest Ohio area is part of the Black Swamp. That's a big part of it. And I think they were trying to get ahead of Native American influence on it. You see a lot of like logos and team names kind of getting changed, whatnot. Cleveland just changed from the Indians to the Guardians. So I think it was trying to get ahead of that. I'm not aware of any direct contact by any Native American tribes, but I love the peace pipe for what it was. It was a great, great era of football. Toledo has the peace pipe there. It's the final resting home for that trophy. But I also think that there's nothing wrong with the new updated trophy. I mean, yes, it's a traffic sign, but college football is littered with insane rivalry trophies. I mean, Minnesota, Michigan battle for a brown jug. Wisconsin, Iowa battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. You get, or maybe it's the Floyd of Rosedale. I don't remember, but there's so many really unique things. I think a traffic sign just adds to that. Now, the peace pipe, great rivalry trophy. A lot of history with it, of course, but I don't think that you're getting rid of the history. I mean, again, it belongs to Toledo now, but I think moving forward is not a bad thing. And I think they've done it well. I think, they did not diminish the history. I think that moving forward the way they did, they handled it pretty well.
Gotcha. See, I mean, my thing is I just don't understand the logic in general. Not just from like I said, I don't know who was making the calls, but in general, there's like a movement to get rid of all of this. And I'm like, but this reminds us of that. You know what I mean? Like I don't, if you delete it all out of there, then we don't remember that. The next generation doesn't remember that. I don't know. It's a slippery slope, but I'm saying like, I don't know that that's the way that I would handle it, but
well, and I, this, I don't mean for this to be a long aside. I apologize, but I think the other thing you have to look at too is you've got two schools in the Mid-American Conference who have really strong ties to Native American tribes. Miami with the Miami tribe.
Yeah.
They honor them with diamonds on their jerseys for special events, things like that. Central Michigan, they work with the Chippewa tribe, and the Chippewa tribe actually allows them to use the name Chippewa. So if Central Michigan, that's why there's no actual mascot. It's the Flying C. Yeah. So that I think that there's a little bit of, we want to be respectful of the rest of the league who has direct ties to these Native American tribes. So I think there's a part of that too. And that's speculatory. I don't have any information, but kind of knowing that history and knowing what's up with those teams, I think that may also be a part of it.
Gotcha. Well, either way, whatever trophy, the I-75 rivalry is fucking awesome. All right. And I want to tell you more about Bowling Green here. We're going to go offense, defense, special teams, go game by game on the schedule. But before I do that, I want to let you know that the college football experience, Bowling Green season preview is brought to you by, we're part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And we are brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And guess what? Everything in the merch store is 10% off with the promo code football. Go out there and get yourself a Mike Leach Swing Your Sword t-shirt. Rest in peace to our great friend. But that's just one of the many shirts you can get. You could get a We Believe ECU shirt. You could get, there's a ton of stuff over there. Get on over there. Promo code Pick Dundee t-shirt. Who doesn't want that? All right. You'll be the talk of the town at the bowling alley if throw that thing on. Talk of the what do you say here? The village. You'll be the talk of the village. All right, you'll get a free cup of stew. All right. Promo code football. Get on over there. 10% off everything. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter, or play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball. Yes, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. They just introduced college football best ball, folks. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries as well. So what are you doing? Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circus Sports and Circus Survivor, and at the Circa there in Las Vegas. Yes, they're giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Can you imagine the regret you'll have? Remember talking to someone a few seasons ago that had won their office pool at Wells Fargo. They work at Wells Fargo. Not their off. Yeah. So there was a couple hundred people is my point is, and he won first place and he got like, I don't know, like $300 cash, like a Applebee's gift card. And look, not to say those things aren't fun, but the thing about Survivor that's different than say fantasy football, those picks would have been good anywhere. So you would have been a millionaire had you entered those in Circus Survivor. Just saying. You want to go to Applebee's with $200? All right. Or you want to be a millionaire. That's all I'm saying. All right. You're going to have a lot of regret if you win your office pool and you didn't enter in Circus Survivor. Sign up in person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th. Use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with a proxy. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. And they're also going to give you a free hat. How about that? All right. There'll be a pep in your step. You got your Pick Dundee t-shirt on. We can get you like a whole wardrobe off of just reading the ads here. Let's go. Get on over there. All right. We are back talking Bowling Green football and the offense a season ago coming along. 71st in scoring per game. That was 5th best in the MAC. 107th in yards, 5th best in the MAC. 104th in passing, 6th best in the MAC. 88th in rushing, 4th best in the MAC. So pretty much every single offensive statistic a season ago was on the upper echelon of the MAC. So, that is what I mean. Like I know they went 7-6. Was it last season? Yep. But these are the signs of like, to me, like the coaching is working. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like before they were like in the back. So, I'm impressed by these numbers, despite, I know some people say, well, dude, they're 107th in yards. Okay. Well, you can still say they're an upper echelon offense in the MAC, and their non-con's challenging too. So, is there one out there that impresses you the most out of those?
Honestly, it's the rushing. I talked to Scott Leffler last year at Mac Media Day, and he talked about how each year was getting, in his mind, it was kind of a 4 or 5 year process. First year, you figure out what you got. Second year, you start to lose close. Third year, you win close. Fourth year, fifth year, you start to win games that on paper you probably shouldn't, but that's when the coaching, that's when the players kind of do their thing. And we're starting to see that. But for me, it's the rushing. Yeah, I know they're 88th, 89th in the country, but 4th in the MAC. And I think when you look at what they're bringing back, Terrion Stewart, he wasn't the starting running back. He's
still second
runner.
Team All MAC, right?
Yeah. And to be second team All MAC as the non-starter, a non-full-time starter, let me be clear on that. I think this could be another really good year, and they're returning a lot of offensive line pieces too, and I think that's going to be critical for their rushing yards.
Yeah. 8 starters are back on offense, folks. This is why NC Nick, if you listen to our locks episode, my brother NC Nick, he wagered on the over on 6. I think it was 6.5 with Bowling Green. Connor Bazelak, the former Missouri Tiger quarterback that played, he had moments at Missouri. He played really well. Running back Terrion Stewart, as you just alluded to. Harold Fannin at the receiver spot. Now they did go out and bring in some guys there. That's going to be an interesting thing to talk about. But Levi Gazarek at the tight end spot, and then 4 or 5 on the offensive line. Yeah. I mean, if I had to nitpick here, it'd be what the receiver spot would be the biggest question mark, but I still think you're in pretty damn good shape. And if I had a team, that probably would be the area that I would, if I had to pick one area to be weak or unproven, I don't want to say weak, unproven. Mm-hmm. I think receiver would be what I would choose almost every time. What do you make of all this returning production?
Well, I think too, I mean, this is an offense that you saw them play Toledo really close last year. You saw them with less of these pieces kind of beat Toledo the year before. This is an offense that can compete. Now, last year they did get shut out by Miami. They lost a couple games that, again, they probably shouldn't have, but then they dropped 38 on Georgia Tech. So the thing with this offense is that they're good and then they're not good. They kind of went through hot spells, cold spells, hot spells, cold spells. And I think this is a year that they have an opportunity to really gel all that. You get Connor Bazelak for a second year in a row. Another wide receiver that's not being talked about. You get Finn Hogan, the junior wide receiver, who had a really good year last year, as it kind of just as a fill-in guy, but you lose most of your offensive production from the wide receiver core. They are dealing with the exact opposite problem Toledo's dealing with. Toledo has everybody on the outside returning, no offensive line.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a tale for Bowling Green that you build this offense around the pieces that you have returning. The receivers will catch on. But when you've got 4 or 5 offensive linemen coming back who all have great experience, when you've got the veteran quarterback coming back, you've got Terrion Stewart coming back, this is going to be a good offense. Can they take that step forward to be a great offense, and great even only by MAC terms? I don't need them to be Georgia or Ohio State. I need them to be Bowling Green ranks top 3 in the MAC in XYZ categories.
Yeah. Yeah. And the portal, plays such a pivotal role these days. They did a good job kind of retaining. I know they lost to Teron Keith to Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, and Andrew Bench to South Alabama. But other than that, I would say they did a pretty good job keeping the team intact, which says something. They also stayed aggressive at the same time. And to me, they addressed that void potentially. Michael Johnson Jr. coming in from Auburn at the wide receiver spot, and RJ Garcia from Kansas State. I remember liking Garcia in Manhattan there. So those two guys are penciled in to be starters here. They also bring in Elijah Boyd, a tight end from the UTEP Miners, running back Justin Pegoose from Tennessee Tech, the Golden Eagles there, and an FCS offensive tackle, Nick Reamer from the Merrimack Warriors. I think they really knocked it out of the ballpark as far as, we like to grade if you won the portal or not. I think this team got better because of the portal. So that is, how about you? Would you agree?
I think Bowling Green definitely got better because of the portal. When you look at this wide receiver room, you now have multiple guys who played at Power 5 schools. Auburn and Kansas State. Auburn, of course, being out of the SEC. I don't care who you are. You can say, oh, well, Auburn's this, Auburn's that. You're still a wide receiver from the SEC who got playing time, who got experience, who got coaching by, frankly, I'll call it what it is, the cream of the crop in terms of college athletic conferences, the SEC. Yes, you got practice against other Auburn guys, but when you got to play against the Alabamas, you got to play against the Tennessees, you got to play against the Georgias. That experience is so incredibly invaluable. Obviously, getting on the same page as Connor Bazelak is going to be massive. But same thing with Miami. I think when you can get guys who played at that high level, there's an opportunity for them to be great at maybe a slight step back conference. And Bowling Green, they've got the weapons to give those guys time to kind of lean into their own. Week 1 is going to be big for them. That game against Fordham, that's going to tell you what you need to know about this offense.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. Shout out to Alex in the chat. He says, getting a guy from the Kansas State Wildcats is always a plus. He's a K-State guy, if you can't tell. Shout out to Alex, long-time listener, hell of a good guy. Now the defensive side of the ball, they were stronger on the defensive side of the ball, you could say, than, they were a defensive team last year, which is a credit to those co-defensive coordinators there. 51st in scoring per game, giving up 24 points per game. That was 5th best in the MAC, 25th in yards, 5th best in the MAC, 12th in pass defense. That was 6th best in the MAC. I was actually kind of puzzled by those numbers. So I was like, how are you the 12th best pass defense, but 6th best in the MAC? Good God. The MAC had elite pass defense a season ago. 53rd. I had to dude, I have a newborn. So it's like, I had to keep rechecking that. Cause I was like, wait, I messed that up, didn't I? So at 2 different stints, I went to NCAA.com and I was like, wait, okay, no, I did that. Okay. That's correct. 53rd in rush defense, 4th best in the MAC. The defense was legit last season, man. And I think very encouraging to me, the fact that, you bring back 7 starters on defense. Yes. including 3 of 4 on the D line. Linebacker would be the area I think you would circle, much like wide receiver on offense. Joseph Sipp coming in or being the lone returning starter in the linebacking core. Secondary though, bringing back 3 of 4 or 3 of 5. 3 of 5 I believe. Kicker and punter back as well. What am I missing here? I feel like they are well positioned for a major run here, but what do you see here with what do you make of 7 starters back and your entire special teams coming back?
Well, I think a lot of people are going to specifically highlight Dontrez Brown, right? He led the team in tackles, had a couple fumbles last year. You mentioned the pass defense. This was the same team that forced multiple turnovers against Michigan a year ago. Michigan had more turnovers, I think, in their Bowling Green game than they had the rest of the season, which is incredibly insane to think about.
Yeah. Dick Gersberger cracking me up in the chat. No, you're right. And yeah, I mean, dude, that Michigan game, what was the final score on that? Because I feel like they were playing Michigan better than a lot of other teams.
It was 31-6 was the final, but it was a lot tighter than that score indicated. Michigan pulled away obviously later in the game and really closed it out. Bowling Green had a lot of opportunities. Michigan threw interceptions in the end zone. It was insane how, this Bowling Green defense, for all intents and purposes, played out of their minds and punched well above their weight class.
For sure. And I think this is more impressive than the offense. I know the offense is bringing it back, but I'm like, you get back pretty much your whole damn team. They did lose. How big is this loss of Cassius Howe to Texas A&M? Because obviously, if Mike Elko, I'm a real big believer in Mike Elko, and I think he's really good at identifying talent. When he stepped into Duke, the year previously they had a horrible defense, and year 1, and Elko actually coached at Bowling Green, believe it or not, way back with Dave Clawson. But it makes me believe that he was a very, very good player for them a season ago, better than even the stats represent, in my opinion. So Cassius Howe going to A&M, Jalen Husky's another one going to Maryland. But besides that, they weren't able to keep a lot of the team intact. How big do you think the loss of Husky and Howe are?
I think anytime you lose guys to a Power 5 school, that tells you a lot about their motor, their pedigree. We saw Braden Fisk transfer from Western Michigan to Florida State and dominate. And now he's in the NFL. So I think anytime you lose a guy to a big program, one, that's a sign that those programs know, hey, this is a good player. But 2, I think it's also you recognize, maybe they weren't feeling like they were the star. I think there's also that, you've got guys who, now you're returning 3 defensive linemen who are going to be fantastic for Bowling Green. Cassius Howe was great, but I don't think that loss hurts them as much as what people might think. I do think it's going to cause a few growing pains, but honestly, I'm not worried about it for Bowling Green. This is such a stout defense. They're only going to get better. They're going to graduate everybody here soon, but this is going to be a pretty good Bowling Green defense. And you talk about Jaden Husky. Maryland comes calling. I get it. That's a Big Ten school. You get an opportunity to play at USC for a conference game this year. So, who wouldn't want that? But it's, I'm not too pressed about either one of these. I think they hurt, but when you look at the 7 starters and guys returning, Bowling Green's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. And then it's a 2-way street too. And I saw, we had Paul in the chat, a Pokes fan. Well, Donnie Stevens, linebacker for Oklahoma State, heads out to Bowling Green. They also get Justin Eklund from San Jose State. Their defense was sneaky, a little bit better than people thought last year. And then Edward, and they're going out to Flagstaff, Arizona to get the likes of Edward Rambo. Oh man.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
Damn it. I can't find my Rambo drop. Anyway, going to the FCS route, sometimes you can land some home runs there. Jared Verse at Florida State last season. Ja'Cory Benjamin comes in from Texas Southern. Todd Bumpus from Cincinnati. Cornerback CJ Brown from Northern Illinois. What is that about? Going to get a Husky. Okay. Safety Darius McClendon from FAU and kicker Zach Long from Troy. So they did do a very well trying to, a very well job trying to replace what they lost. I think they won the portal overall, though. I know. So to me, they really only lost like 2 key guys from the team. And they brought in, I think, many guys that could really help out the team. We'll have to see, but I think they won the transfer portal. Would you agree?
So Todd Bumpus, obviously, you get an opportunity to compete at Cincinnati, and then CJ Brown. This one is interesting. He was a first team All MAC player back in 2021, second team back in 2022. So for him to come in, I think in conference portal guys are always very interesting. I mean, we saw Bowling Green lose a guy to Kent State. So I mean, you talk about the portal being a 2-way street. MAC guys are just going to other MAC schools. It's just the name of the game right now. Kent State had a running back transfer to Ball State last year. Like these things happen. But I think CJ Brown probably feels Bowling Green's defense, their scheme just fits better. And I think they all kind of run some version of a hybrid multiple scheme. I think, Toledo does a little bit here and there. Northern Illinois does, but it feels like Bowling Green runs a little bit more base set. And this seems to fit his skill set a little bit more. I do think what's interesting about these transfers is the San Jose State one, Justin Eklund. That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a big loss for San Jose State, but that's a big upgrade at linebacker for Bowling Green. Donnie Stevens, Oklahoma State, another big one. I really think the Ja'Cory Benjamin one is interesting, and here's why. Texas Southern was not good last year. Let's just call it what it is. But I think he was one of their bright spots. So for him to be able to identify where he can go and get better, I think that's huge. I mean, Texas Southern, they've been an FCS program for just a couple years, so they're figuring it out. They're whatever.
Yeah.
But I think, and again, purely speculatory. I'm not gonna put words in his mouth or anything. He came up and they played Toledo last year. Toledo thwacked Texas Southern, but you got to see that environment. You're like, man, this is cool. This is a MAC school. Like, people can say what they want about MAC programs and how they don't show out. Yeah, that's Thursday night games, Tuesday night games when, it's 8:00 and 10 degrees outside. I don't want to be out any more than you do. But Saturdays in the MAC, they're pretty good. They do a nice job. And so, I mean, who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Yeah. And maybe, like I said, that there's a lot of reason to believe that you could win this conference and be in the 12-team playoff mix. So I think all that very encouraging. So I would say they won the portal as well. Going to talk more about Bowling Green with their schedule and win total expectations, but I want to tell you the college football experience Bowling Green Falcon style is brought to you by Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model? Yes. I mean, you should. Do you even know what a sports betting model is? Let me tell you. It's not Tyra Banks or whatever. All right. SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on moneyline spreads, totals, and props. And you can build your own model. You can also just copy one of the top performing models out there in the leaderboard, or you could press build me a custom model, and then Rhythm will give you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has just a slew of stats, research and trend analysis to give you more, more betting insight, so to speak. Simplify your betting process. College football kicks off this week. Well, week 0 already kicked off, but week 1 is this week. And look, you can find edges. I've been using, the Rhythm models for golf, killing it there. WNBA, killing it there. And I just built my model so I can actually, know what to bet on in some of these random games. So get ready, folks. College football season's here. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Yes, Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And look, it's not just MLB. If you're going to the Doit, all right, for a game, check out Scotty Leffler and Connor Bazelak. Pull out the Game Time app. You get 20% off. All right. So what are you doing? Take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. Did I say you get 20% off? My apologies. You get $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Create the account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off, not 20% off, $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I can't read. Okay. The win total sitting at 6.5. I mean, this is where I do think my brother NC Nick has a good wager, because you see all the returning production. You see they won 7 games last year, and that was, and that was they lost the bowl game, right? And so they won 7 in the regular season. They're plus 600 to win the MAC championship. I think that is even appealing, and plus 15,000 to make the 12-team playoff, and plus 300,000 to win the national championship. But hey, it's possible. All right. Am I crazy? But like 6.5, I feel like this lowers this number's lower than what it should be, just blindly without going game by game on the schedule. Are you surprised to see 6.5 here?
I'm not. I think 6.5 is doable. Obviously, we'll get into the schedule here shortly, but I think they do have a little bit of a tough non-con. And then obviously you've got, constant contenders in Toledo, Miami, even Ohio, who has to reload. Like, they're still going to have good pieces. Ohio thwacked Bowling Green last year. It was like 38-7. I mean, so I think it's going to come down to coaching, and I know we'll get into that in a minute, but I don't think 6.5 is completely undoable.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this schedule. Week 1, they are getting Fordham. Watch out. Who did Fordham almost beat in the MAC?
They beat Buffalo a year ago.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
It was Buffalo at Buffalo.
They keep a decent program there at Fordham. All right. They got that lineage of Vince Lombardi. All right. Watch out though, because that's a look ahead spot. That is a look ahead spot. You got that Penn State game looming. But I'll say Bowling Green will be 1-0 there. How about you?
Bowling Green 1-0 to start the season. Obviously, I think they probably play Fordham a little bit closer than they'd like. Maybe catch them thinking about that 9-7 matchup, but Bowling Green 1-0 to start.
And then you head into State College, Pennsylvania, Beaver Stadium there. Oh, would I love to see this upset. See, this is the downside of this though, is that you almost wish there was like a Minnesota or Georgia Tech here. Getting Penn State followed by, a bye week, and then at A&M. I don't even know which one's more, like, I think both are long shots, but I kind of think Penn State might be the more winnable game because they're coming off a rivalry game. So you might catch them asleep at the wheel a little bit, but I got them losing both these. I got them 1-2. How about you?
I also have them 1-2, but I think, to your point, I think Texas A&M is the more winnable game. I think Bowling Green's coming off that bye. You get a little extra rest after really playing Penn State on the road. You hope to play them tough, but Bowling Green, for whatever reason, finds a way the last couple of years to beat somebody they have no business beating. They did it with Georgia Tech last year. They did it with Marshall. They've done it with Toledo in years they shouldn't have done it. They did it with Minnesota. So, I mean, it's a Saturday. Anything can happen. I think Texas A&M, of the two, should be the team that's more on upset alert.
All right. And we both got them at 1-2. They are hosting Old Dominion. Kind of fascinated by this game. I give Bowling Green the edge here. But Old Dominion was one that I was very wrong about too. Like they got raided in the portal.
Yeah.
The past 2 years, and Ricky Ronnie and that staff just reload. I was very impressed with their what they were able to accomplish last season, despite getting completely destroyed in the portal. Mm-hmm. But I will say Bowling Green goes to 2-2 here. How about you?
I've got them at 2-2. I think Old Dominion. You got to travel to Bowling Green. Bowling Green's coming off that A&M game. Assuming a Bowling Green loss, I mean, that you expect that. So I think, then they set their sights on and focus in on Old Dominion. You get another home win before you start conference play. You get to 2-2. And I don't think that's too crazy to expect out of them at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at Akron, man, I thought the Joe Moorhead situation was going to work out a little better. This is a big year for. I can't honestly tell the people out there that I feel good about Akron's chances. I'm taking Bowling Green to win this 3-2. How about you?
3-2, but I think Akron. So if you look at Akron the last couple years, they've played Bowling Green pretty close. Now last year was an anomaly. Bowling Green won 41-14. But the previous couple years, Akron's played them to a 1-score game, has won a couple of those 1-score games. I think there's a little bit of a kind of a quasi rivalry that's built up here. It's we don't want to be dead last bowl. Bowling Green's obviously turned that around and has done a great job. Joe Moorhead, yeah, I'm sure you and I will talk about him at some point. I think this is a big year for Akron as well. They need to jump. The last 2 years, they've lost 5 games by 1 score. So, I mean,
they should have beat Indiana. Close. I'm still mad about that Indiana game.
I'm also mad about that game. Yeah. But I do think they moved to 3-2 after 10-5.
3-2, and then this is a big one here, home to Northern Illinois. We're going to do the Northern Illinois preview in a little bit here, but I always feel like the years you're not expecting Northern Illinois to be good is when they're good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at the Doit.
It's at the Doit.
I'm going to lean Bowling Green, but not by much. I mean, I think this is like you're getting to the first kind of 50-50 game for me and within the MAC. I'll go Bowling Green by a field goal. How about you?
Give me Bowling Green at home. I'll take it, by a score. Whether that's 1 point, whether that's 7, I'm going to take Bowling Green by a score. I think 4-2 before you get into a slate of rivalry games.
Yes, they are home to Kent State. Kenny Burns, when he's done narrating the Civil War, he will jump on over to coach a football game at the Doit. I'm not there on Kent State, especially I saw they were starting a freshman quarterback.
He's a red shirt, Devin Cargman. I mean, he played last year. Like he's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about Devin Cargman, but I do think Bowling Green's defense is going to do enough. I mean, they've got some great pieces at Kent State for the offense. They've got guys that they retain this year on defense. Kent State's going to be a better team this year. I had a great conversation with Kenny Burns at Media Day about the team. But Bowling Green's going to beat Kent State. Yeah.
And then you have the Battle of I-75. Now, shout out to Dan Savage. I did, he was on the Toledo preview and he convinced me. He sold me that the Rockets are going to beat Bowling Green. This is a rivalry game. I have no idea who's winning this game. Let's be honest. But for consistency on that take, I took Toledo to win that game. So I will deal them their 3rd loss of the season here. What are you doing at the Glass Bowl?
God, you're killing me because I feel like each time I pick this game, I pick wrong. It's just
take Bowling Green then.
Right. And so 2 years ago, I picked Toledo in a landslide. Bowling Green comes to the Glass Bowl, punches them in the mouth. Other circumstances happened. DeQuan Finn wasn't playing. Yeah, whatever. I think Toledo's going to have an incredible defensive line this year. I think they've got great pieces coming back on defense. The fact that Bowling Green has to break in new offensive skill players, specifically at wide receiver, is going to be beneficial to Toledo. I think right now, just on paper, if they played this game today, Bowling Green has a better defensive line than Toledo's offensive line. I give the edge to the Falcons, not by much, but I give the edge to the Falcons. So I'm going to go
appreciate that honesty. I appreciate that honesty.
I still love you, Toledo. Please, please know my degree. I'm still waiting for you to send it, but I still love you.
So wow. So you got them then at just 2 losses. I'm at 3. They get a bye week and then fire up chips as they head to Mount Pleasant there. Is there any chance that Jim McElwain is not coaching this game?
I don't think so. I think he finishes out the year. I also think that Central Michigan, they're going to be better than people are anticipating. I have them, I think, sitting at my preseason power rankings at 6 in the conference. I'm just trying to recall off the top of my head. I think they're going to be better than people are expecting, but it's going to come down to what their quarterbacks do. I mean, defense, they're okay. Offense, they're going to be okay, but they're going to live and die by that quarterback room. That being said, Bowling Green loses this game. Bowling Green, for whatever reason, they win games they shouldn't, and then they inevitably drop a game that you're like, that's the game you dropped. I mean, we saw it against Eastern Kentucky 2 years ago, and then they turn around and beat Marshall like the week later. So you see it happen. They're coming off a big win at Toledo. You get a bye, then you get into midweek play. You're on the road again, and I really think that Central Michigan gets the dub on this one.
I'm with you. I just feel like there's always one here that you're not seeing. And I think if you do maybe you do win that Toledo game, and then you're on cloud 9 going into the bye week, and then now you got to take this road trip. My only fear is like, I was unsure if McElwain would, because they say he's on the hot seat. So a lot of the people covering it, as far as like, will he be there next year? So, but if they lose this, I got them bouncing back against Western Michigan. But yes, I do have them at 4 losses here. I got them beating Western Michigan. How about you?
I got them losing to Western. I am high on Western this year. I am incredibly high on Western. I think the defense takes a massive step forward.
I was impressed with Lance Taylor year 1.
I tell you what, the Lance Taylor era is off to a great start. Obviously some issues you got to figure out. But I think Jalen Buckley is going to be absolutely dominant this year. He's one of my early MAC Player of the Year potential candidates. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think Western kind of punches him in the mouth and says, "Hey, we're here to play." And again, late November game. They've always played Western kind of close. A couple years ago, they played them to I think it was a 13-9 final in a November game at Bowling Green. So I think this is going to be a tough one, but I think I give Western the edge.
Now we're at the same record then, because I took them to beat Western. Now they head into Muncie, and this is another question I should ask you. Will Mike New be coaching this game for Ball State?
You're just trying to get me canceled all over this conference, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, this is hypothetically, you see it I feel like every team now will do the hiring in the season. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in mid-November, they're saying, what? I feel like Lane Kiffin took the job to Ole Miss like on like November 15th. It's like, wait a second, you still have like 2 games left at Florida Atlantic. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why. And if I'm trying to, get a record out of this, I'm like, well, if Mike New happens to not be there,
right,
then I tend to like Bowling Green's chances a lot more.
I think everybody thought maybe last year was going to be Mike New's final year. They won 3 of their last 5 contests. The defense played incredible. I've got some of their numbers right now. They lost a 21-24 game at Bowling Green. They lost a 15-17 game to Miami, Ohio. They beat Kent State 34-3. They beat Northern Illinois 20-17. And then, I mean, their loss to Toledo was 13-6. Granted, rain-soaked, like awful weather. I mean, it was a ground game day. But you look at this Ball State defense, they play people really, really close. Now they're replacing a lot of people this year on the defensive side, but I don't know. I think that this is a close one. I think they do beat Ball State.
I got them beating Ball State too.
But I do think that Mike New will still be there. I mean, this team rallied around him so hard. And I mean, you can just tell how much emotion there is with that team and how much they really trust and lean on him. I think Ball State's going to be better this year, but I do think Bowling Green gets the dub.
And that is the over for both of us.
For both of us.
That puts them at 7 wins.
Yep.
They end the season Black Friday taking on the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Could this be a rematch of the MAC championship, perhaps?
Well, that would be if Bowling Green would win this game, and Bowling Green's not going to win this game.
Woo! Woo!
Well, I don't get. I got to bring the head cold, but they're counting.
But you gotta like them hosting them at the Doit, right?
I like them hosting at the Doit. They got smacked around by Miami a year ago, 27-0. And this was after they came off of that win against Georgia Tech, talking about going and winning a game you shouldn't, and then looking like a completely different team. You win the Ball State game. It's a good game. It's also only a 6-day turnaround. So it is a shorter week. They're coming off a shorter week going into this Miami game. I really like Miami. I think just Miami's the cream of the top of the class this year in the Mid-American Conference. So I got to give it to the Red Hawks to get this dub and put Bowling Green at 7-5 again with 3 conference losses.
Yeah, we did the Miami preview, and I took Miami too. So I mean, I was just trying to see the logic there. 7-5 though, still on the over. I just don't have them playing in the MAC championship, but I think my brother's wager is a wise one. So, folks, if you can get on over there and you can find good odds, let me ask you this though: it's plus 600 to get to the MAC championship. If they just win one of those games that you're alluding to. Central Michigan, Western Michigan, Miami, Ohio, they might find themselves in the, how many losses do you think both teams will have? Cause if we have them losing to Penn State and A&M, then you're looking at what the Miami, Central and Western, 3 losses in conference. 3 might get you in to the championship game, but 2, I think you're definitely probably getting in, right?
Well, I think 3 got you in back when they were divisions. We saw Toledo get in with a 5-3 conference record 2 years ago and win the Mid-American Conference. That's not going to happen anymore with these new pods, and they're sending the best 2 teams. I think 2 is scary. Now, I don't think teams are going to run the conference table like Toledo did last year, or like Northern Illinois did in yesterdecade. I think we're going to see teams probably have a conference loss, but 2 I think is the absolute most you can have and hope to make the conference championship anymore based on the new format.
So it still might be worth it though. Like if you're a Bowling Green fan, listen to this. Plus 600. Yeah. Plus 600, and you're like,
it's $30.
Yeah, because they'll probably be favored against Western Michigan. So it's like if you just win the games you're favored in, they probably will be short dogs to Toledo and Miami, probably.
Probably, yeah.
And so you got to think if you win the rest, you might be getting in there. It's worth that sprinkle. We're both on the over though, and we do think Scotty Leffler's doing a heck of a good job. Mm-hmm. If you want a deeper dive on the MAC. Well, you came to the right place because I'm not promoting me. I'm promoting Alex Shear, host of the MAC Connection podcast, and it's MAC everything. All right. He's not just covering those Tuesday, Wednesday games that are always awesome. It's MAC basketball, it's MAC baseball, MAC track. He's got you covered with it all. Get on over there. Give Alex a follow on Twitter at ASCHEER90, and also make sure you check out the MAC Connection podcast. That is on Twitter at the MSC podcast. So get on over there. Thanks for coming on, man. And this is what I like about you. You're honest with yourself, because you're a Toledo guy and you're on the over with Bowling Green, and you have them winning the Battle of the I-70. That's honesty, man. I'm the same way with when I feel like when my team's terrible and I'm like, I'm not to say that Toledo's terrible, but I'm saying when I know we're not going to win the rivalry game, sometimes I'm outspoken on that. Appreciate it. And folks, we got Northern Illinois coming up soon here in about 10-15 minutes. So stay tuned. Maction Sunday here. Give me a follow on Twitter at the Colby D. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN as we break down all 134 teams in the land. Also check out the Stadium Heads podcast with myself and College Football Campus Tour. We'll at that podcast, we talk about the history of stadiums. We love the Doit. All right. Get on over there. Check it out. And check out the college basketball experience, the college baseball experience. All those come together as one. YouTube.com/the college experience. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Till next time, folks. This is the college football experience. Bowling Green Falcon style. Fly, fly, fly. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know